Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to In the Chamber. Another episode. This time, quite a lot to cover. Despite it being the off-season, Matt, I think there has been quite a lot of news. Arguably, actually more than last time, funny enough. But we're going to delve into things straight away. We can get started. What have you been up to, Matt? Yeah, I know last time you mentioned you were going to be working on something, and now, of course, you completed that work. What have you been doing?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, funnily, that we can't talk, like both of us can't talk about going forward. So, you know, it's looking like it's going to be a good off-season for me in terms of work, but I can't say anything about any of it. Okay. So, you know, it's, you'll see some things. Probably maybe one of them will be announced on Twitter before this goes live, but I don't 15th? Know.
It's like the 10th day of recording. It's about 5 days time. Yeah. If it goes up,
I'm not 100%. Yeah.
Okay, don't risk it.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm not going to risk it, but that's a pretty big one. There's some cool teams participating in that event that I you know, again, they've been announced, but I can't say what event it is, so I can't say what teams it is. Yeah, exactly. And a couple of other things, but yeah, no, I mean, we already know kind of the events that make up the official off season, so I'm sure we're all excited for that, and both of us definitely getting involved with that one.
Exactly. Well, you worked on one, right? It was a G Loot, was it called?
Well, that was before the off. That's not the off season event. That was a completely different thing. But yeah, they do have another one coming.
Sure. How was that?
I mean, it was good. It was like the little. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. The finals was one immortal team versus a gold team. But hey, it is what it is. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? With those kinds of things where it's like you make your own kind of like ranking system in your little app.
How did the gold team get there?
Well, so the way the G Loot system works, and this is not an ad. I'm not advertising G Loot whatsoever, but it's like, you know, it's a kind of face it thing where it's its own little, you sign up and you play weeklies, and then
right.
If you win enough weeklies, you qualify for their little big events with prize pools, and so I think there was only one immortal team in the whole event, or they got put on the same side of the bracket or something like that. Right, I don't know what it was, but either way, I mean, it's a cool system. I like the way it works, and it looks like they're incorporating that into their off-season event. They're doing like a little teams who aren't invited can qualify to the main event, which is a cool idea, and I do like that. But hopefully they don't get completely stomped immediately. Hopefully we get some good pug teams through there or something like that. But I think it's going to be cool. I think the actual event is going to be very interesting to watch. So
not too bad. To be honest, for me, I haven't really been up to, in the Valorant space anyway. I haven't really been up to much. I've been doing quite a lot of CS:GO, but I mean, I think obviously with CS:GO being in its like hot season right now, there's a lot going on there. Obviously the major is literally in 21 days as of the time of recording. I worked on a bit of the RMR, probably the biggest gig I've done to date. It was pretty good. It was good stuff. That's what I've been doing really. I've been following Gamechangers, but nothing work-wise, but watching-wise, obviously, it's been. We've got a lot on.
I did the open qualifiers for Gamechangers. I did part of the open qualifiers. There you go. So there's something I did, and actually, I was following the winning team. I love that. I was following Guild X for the open qualifiers. So yeah.
Lucky
well, it was mostly 13 nils.
Yes, I can imagine.
But hey, at the very least, I got to support the team. So hey, there you go.
You were part of the journey, basically.
Yeah,
of Guild.
I was what started them off. I was what gave them the momentum they needed to win the whole event for the first time. So
that's
there you go.
What we love to hear. Exactly that. Well, I guess we could kickstart things with kind of recent news. There's obviously a lot to talk about in terms of transfers. I mean, that is obviously that's the big thing about the off season. It's all about transfers. The roster lock it's now 5 days, right? I think it's the 15th.
As at the time of recording, 15th.
So the day this goes out, the roster lock is confirmed, which is spicy stuff. But we can probably start off with we got another teaser for our lovely new Asian. We don't have a name as of just yet, but we do have another little teaser. We can take a little look through this. Obviously, Valorant released this was it like last night, so it kind of doubles down on what we already thought about. It's in India, that kind of thing, but
it's very cryptic. The video, I watched it all the way through. It's very cryptic. I mean, you can see the water stuff.
Obviously, that's the big one, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what was not leaked, but kind of theorized as his kind of or their kind of like we don't know anything really about them.
Yeah, we don't know if it's a guy or girl yet. We actually have guy or girl, non-binary. We literally have no idea.
Yeah, it could be anything. As their abilities.
Yeah, water is one of them, right? I think I saw people talking about like kind of water wall or something along those lines. Yeah. We did have an inkling about some of the abilities. Like there was like the one about the bubble that everyone thought was going to be really OP because it's like an impenetrable bubble. I'm sure there'll be a way around it, but
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see it out.
yeah. It's incredibly cryptic. There's a lot going on and not much information to take from it whatsoever. But you can tell that it's India, and you can tell that there's water involved, and that's I mean what we already knew, but now it's confirmed, so that's cool.
Exactly. So I mean, it's going to be quite interesting to see kind of how this agent gets incorporated. And I think the biggest thing for me is that whenever we see new agents get incorporated in, there's always definitely a little bit of like kind of downtime where it's like the agent's either like so broken or just completely useless. So I'm really interested to see kind of how this is going to pan out. The only information I have on top of this, which I'm happy to say in terms of, because at the time of recording, this will be common knowledge, but the first event the agent will be used at will be Blast. So Blast Spike Nation. So that's obviously from the 14th to the 16th of October. So if you're watching now, Blast is on now. So go over to Blast, and also you'll probably see me as well. So go to Blast.
That's the best part about it. Honestly.
Exactly. Go over to Blast.
Don't watch it for the players. Watch it for Neo.
Exactly.
Watch it for Neo.
I'll be there. I think I've kind of got so I think the way we're doing it. I'll talk about it in a little bit more detail later, but it's kind of very hybrid between casting and desk work. And I think for me, I'm primarily casting with Ryan Central. I think is
awesome.
That'll
be a good duo.
Yeah, I know. So I'm taking more of the play-by-play, which will be I mean kind of interesting for me. I'm not usually a play-by-play, but I don't mind it. I've been a play-by-play before. So in Polaris, and like obviously we were both working, but obviously not together. I was a play-by-play then, because when I worked at MP, I was play-by-play. When I worked with Nauri, I was play-by-play. But yeah, obviously I think I would normally say I'm an analyst or color caster, but I can do it. I'll be alright. It should be a good event. But first time we'll see exactly. First time we'll see the agent get used is going to be at Blast, which would be sick, because I think the whole thing is that it's going to be completely open. Like anyone who at Blast can use it. They can like pick it into their comps. So I think that'll be a really good testing ground, because obviously at the time that is right now, we're starting to get kind of the squads leaked, and I don't want to leaked, actually like released on Twitter. Like I know Blast all of today has been releasing them. So there's some big names basically. So it'd be kind of interesting to see kind of how the agent gets incorporated. I just hope it's that bubble thing's not so overpowered, because it just sounds broken.
I feel like the thing with that bubble is going to be in a similar way as the Cosmic Divide, right? You can't shoot out of it, you can't shoot into it.
Yes.
I feel like the thing is, once you're inside a bubble like that, you don't know if somebody, like, if say you want to use it to plant the spike for free.
That's what I was thinking is,
somebody just walks in and kills you. You have no clue they're coming. I think that's probably the way I see it being balanced, is that you don't have any information either.
Yeah. I'm trying to see as well, like, obviously, how it'll be used as, like, a meta. I mean, that's kind of what makes, I guess, the Spike Nation thing quite good, because it is so... It's got a massive variety in terms of... You've got players who are playing in VCT, like, big names, and then you've got kind of, content creators and people who maybe haven't played at that sort of insane level.
There's no pressure to do massively well and win the whole event.
You can come in a bit. I'm expecting
it's somewhere between a show match, Oh, God, yes. I want to see some terrible stuff. Absolutely terrible.
I want to see less chamber as well. I think it's probably another one. Like, less chamber, just because it's so meta right now, right? You know, test the waters a little bit. But that's what we've got so far. We haven't got a name, as of right now, anyway. I haven't got a name. The embargo and on kind of all the information and stuff, and like the releases will come out sometime between now and now in time of recording and when this podcast is released. Probably when the podcast, so when you're watching now, you probably actually know the name, all the abilities and stuff. But for now, we don't. So we can't really give you anything extra. However, it does sound pretty cool. I mean, very water based. It's cool that the that kind of region as well, like India, is getting a kind of representation, because it is one of the kind of the bigger player bases, right? So awesome to kind of see that stuff, and the abilities look quite cool. So all in all, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but it sounds pretty cool. That's what we've got.
I'm looking forward to it, especially knowing that. I think Spike Nations is one of those things where it's one of those events that maybe you're not that interested in it, because it's not like this big thing with like a big prize pool, and it's an actual tournament. It's an influencer event. Why would I watch it? Because it's fun, and because there's going to be some new content, and because the desk is going to be pure content. Blast always kills it with content, so it's going to be great no matter what the level of competition is. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Well, we can move on to kind of the kind of thing we were talking about, transfers, right? I mean, that's been the big news since the last time we recorded. It's about 2 weeks from now. Is when we recorded things last. Of course, we had Bo on. We were talking about how this is all going to work. There's 5 days until roster lock on the 15th. So, of course, at a time of recording, it's the 10th right now. When it's released on the 15th, roster lock will be locked in. And we've already had some pretty spicy ones. We can start with the first. It's Zekken. going towards Sentinels, and not even just Zekken as well. Sentinels as a whole has made a huge change. There has been a lot of uplift, which I think is probably, as someone who kind of, obviously, we've all kind of followed Sentinels from the start when they found their initial point of form, when they were initially kind of one of the best teams in the world. They were putting on monster performances, and then it's been pretty bad since, right? I mean, that's probably the best way to put it. I'm glad they've actually kind of made like a full commitment to really revamp this roster. I mean, it was very clear to see that previous roster was dead in the water. It wasn't going to find any success at the kind of the upper echelons, the tier 1 level. So they needed to completely revamp it, and they have. And of course, we now know the full roster: Def, Zekken, Tens, Sacy, and Pancard. Of course, 2 guys from Loud who just won the biggest event of the year. So huge signings. And they've also got Sicko into coach as well. I mean, they've done everything right in my books in terms of just completely revamping the roster.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time now that Sentinels have committed to a, young talent kind of thing. There was also, I can't remember his name now. Oh God, Kampeki also, but he wasn't like, he was like somewhat established already. Zekken is somebody you can kind of commit to and then build as well as just he's already fucking amazing, but it will build on that, and they're bringing in. Obviously Tens is, we know how good he can be. He hasn't had quite the run of form.
He's dipped a bit,
Yeah, exactly, that he had back in the day. But Sacy and Pancada, two just completely... I mean, Sacy has been putting up the best stats at Riot official events for a whole year now.
Exactly.
He has been at the top of, ACS, at the top of everything like that, as a Sova player for over a year now. And... this could be a super team at this point. It's hard to know how it's going to mesh right now, but I can see it being pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think kind of it shows kind of for me that the commitment being made here by Sentinels, that they actually want to climb back to the top. It wasn't just like a flash in the pan, when Tens first joined, and of course he had those amazing kind of performances round after round. Everyone was like, oh my God, this is just the best guy in NA. And then I think we all kind of now, as of 2022, have figured out that that wasn't the case. It was a bit of a flash in the pan then with that roster. But now they're kind of committed to kind of revamping and building it back. They've kind of got that reliance in Tens too. They believe that he is the kind of the person to build around, which is unfortunate for the others as well, because it means that you're actually a dapper getting dropped, or he's maybe made a sub and he's not allowed to look elsewhere. But I think all in all, the commitment that they've made in terms of the purchases they've made, especially the 2 guys as we see on your screen now, Pancada and Sacy from Loud, it just shows that they want to go back to being the best. And with of course franchising now being locked in, they're one of the sides, of course. They want to be going back in towards the NA split, starting in, I think it's like late January, early Feb, whenever it is, as backup to the top. And kind of obviously with Optic no longer in the conversation, that there's definitely a world in which they can. I think for Sacy, I mean, credit to him is individually, when everybody was always talking about Ye as being like the best player in the world, this guy's amazing, this guy is like the be-all and end-all, the pinnacle of Valorant, and he continuously kept up, he continuously like was in that conversation. As you mentioned, I've been on a Sova player too, I mean, credit to him.
That's the thing. I think as much as probably not fully the case, it is a big thing that because Ye is from NA, that's why he's touted as the best player in the world. It's always going to happen that minor regions are going to have players just as good that are not really considered as good because they're from that region. But Sacy has been performing at or above Ye's level on the international stage since Ye has been touted as the world's best player. So he could work incredibly well with this team. And the thing is with Tens is that maybe he's not like you could say what you want about building the team around him, but he has the clout and he has everything going for him, and we know that he can do incredibly well. So if this team meshes well, I think this could actually be kind of insane.
It's kind of a best of both worlds as well, in terms of course they're relying on Tens. I think, as you mentioned, for him, we know he's been amazing. He's massively dropped off in form in towards kind of 2022, even latter part of 2021. It really wasn't kind of the Sentinels with no and love from NA. But I think kind of, as you mentioned, I think his brand is something, right? I mean, even to kind of mention his like Final Mouse sponsorship, like they sold out within like, was it like 40 minutes or something stupid?
Something like that,
And it was like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them. So yeah, I mean, even if they maybe could have picked up someone better, which I think that's kind of what I saw floating around. A lot of people were kind of saying like, why are they committed to Tens kind of thing? Why are they kind of like double down on this dude? But in all fairness, he is good. We've seen he can be good. I think he maybe just needs the right puzzle pieces around him. And also, as a brand, he's like perfect. He's like this really nice guy. Exactly. He's this really nice guy. He does a lot of like the outside work as well in terms of content creation, streaming. He's a public figure who's very good at being a public figure, not a brand risk at all, or from what we've seen so far. I mean, like, you know, everything about him is kind of, as an org, you're like, he's kind of that perfect puzzle piece. Same way when people say the same stuff about Boaster, right? I mean, he's the same thing. He's a brilliant player, but also for PR wise, he is a absolute diamond in the rough, right? He is like this perfect guy who just doesn't really make mistakes. He's so lovely in front of the camera. He's great for marketing, great for content. I mean, for an org as well, when they're paying these massive wages towards these players, they've got to get something back out of it, and that's why kind of where you can use these big names as kind of advertising and all the rest. So I think even if people are questioning his ability as a player, which I don't think is really that fair because the entire roster dropped off, he's great in all the kind of external factors, as well as, you know, now should be much better that he's got kind of the right puzzle pieces around him. And of course, you know, we kind of be speaking and singing Stacey's praises, but Pancada's also fucking cracked as well. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. You like when you're in a team that good with as much talent as that, it's you know, if you're like a little bit like not quite to the peak of Sassy, it's just like, oh well, he's just not very good. No, the whole team is absolutely insane. But
exactly. So and that's the thing. I think now Sentinels then do kind of still enter back into that conversation of being up there with kind of some of the best teams in the world now, or at least kind of on paper it seems like they will. I mean, is that going to be the case? We'll have to wait and see. There's still also a lot of changes still yet to be announced. Bear in mind there is 5 days until the lock is in place. So I'm assuming probably at the time of this podcast release, there's going to be like that Friday basically is just going to be a like shit show on Twitter with like George Geddes working like quadruple shifts trying to get out. Got a long way to get through that kid. So bless him. But yeah, I mean, it should be good. I mean, we still really don't know too much about some of the newer organizations who have come in who didn't have rosters, didn't have kind of tier 1 competitive rosters at the time. We've heard rumors, but we haven't really got kind of confirmation just yet about kind of what they're doing. So we'll have to wait and see. There is also a kind of a more negative side to this, though, which is, of course, the guys leaving the roster. And, I mean, a lot of people would have seen Dapper's tweets where he just said, you know, Sentinels offered me a role as a sub, but I've given me the ability to look for a new team as an unrestricted free agent. I think that's obviously quite fair. I mean, you know, fair play. They've replaced him in. They've got kind of these 2 guys from Loud who are taking his exact role as well. I mean, as much as he can make an argument, he has got these people who are a better role for role than he is, so you know it's fair enough. I mean, it's nice, exactly. It's business, and of course, it is the whole part of franchising that's going to be massive upheavals of teams. It's nice that they're giving him the role of a sub in a worst case scenario, but obviously for him, he wants to be playing game in, game out, week in, week out. So I think probably the smart case that we'll see him at some point join another roster. I can't see him being one of the guys left out of a team, is the way I put it.
I think we will see him on another NA team,
even shortly. Like an EG or something. You know, when they're kind of doing all their upheavals and rebuilds. I mean, they're kind of one of those teams where you said like their team prior wasn't. You know, a lot of them. You know, EG, NRG, all of these kind of NA teams coming in towards franchising. A few that definitely didn't have competitive tier 1 side. So there's a lot of free talent lurking about. So, but also the other one, probably the most important one, Shazam. That was quite an unfortunate clip. We can play this clip. For context, this was just an any old day, a normal stream here for Shazam. I'll let it play out.
Well, guys, looks like an article just went out. You want to know the best part? Ollie Bear, thanks for 20 months here too. I just found out with you guys.
It gives me such Do you remember way back in the day when XQC found out he was dropped from the Dallas Fuel?
Yes.
On the stream, live on the stream, and read out his
the
on the stream on the Twitter announcement because he didn't know. It's that. It gives me such.
The only thing though that I saw a post by, I want to say it's Sentinel's GM or CEO, one of the two, where he said that like this, it isn't as bad as it seems in terms of. Yeah. Okay, so obviously there's one side where Shazam obviously looks heartbroken. The poor dude, right? I mean, like it's like he's live on stream, and it's probably the case is probably his chat was getting absolutely bombarded with like, oh my god, like what's going on here? And it was, I think it was, if I'm right, it was George Geddes who did an article saying, the Sentinels are dropping Shazam, basically. And that's the article he's kind of like, you know, using there for context. And then obviously he reads that on stream. But so I read a post from the CEO or GM of Sentinels, and essentially what he said was, it's not as bad. Like the context is terrible there, because apparently all the staff and the coaching staff had sat down with Shazam and kind of told him this already. Like they said, they said they were looking at other options for him, and that they'll be placing him on the transfer list, and they'll be placing him to kind of look elsewhere because they're looking for his replacement. So apparently, like this isn't like I think the initial response that everyone was like, oh, what the, like, fuck Sentinels, like what the hell, like, you know, these guys have just like dumped this guy live on stream. They've just like done an announcement saying, or like, you know, the article's been released. But apparently that's not the case. Apparently it was a case like the coach staff sat down with him and said, like, you know, we're actively looking to replace you. Like, just
this is Valorant, not Overwatch. There's a certain amount of decorum that goes on in there. Certain amount.
But I mean, you know, I think it's probably a case of kind of three sides to every story, kind of his side, the Sentinel side, and the truth. But I think realistically, he would have had some forewarning. But I think it was probably more a case it was a shock that it was kind of made public.
Yeah, made public before he was able to announce it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, like Dapper, for example, we got kind of that tweet here, right? Dapper's tweet just says, like, you know, I'm looking elsewhere, fantastic. And then, you know, Sentinels did their offer. And you know, actually, probably Sentinels probably told Dapper, they're like, maybe do a tweet because this will get leaks.
Let's get this out now, please.
Let's have round 2, shall we?
Imagine if Shazam, like, he starts his stream, his agent reaches out to him, says, you probably want to do this right now, and he's like, hey, I'm streaming, we'll leave it, and then the article comes out midstream, and shit.
It's like, oh, if I just went live 5 minutes later and just did a quick tweet, but I realistically think that Sentinels probably like told Dapper, like, right, mate, like, we are gonna replace you, we're gonna put you on the bench. Do you want to mention it maybe, like, before we get shit again, basically? But that's the thing, obviously, when you're Sentinels, like, I feel like they've got an impossible task because they've got players for them who are humongous household names. Like, they are like as big as they get. They have been around since the very beginning, and have been at the top levels in the very beginning. So everyone loves them, right? They're literally household names that nobody has any problems with. Obviously, there's you know, certain Valorant Sentinels players who people do have problems with, but these aren't. These are the lovely dudes, the actual nice guys. And they have to drop them because they are underperforming. They are playing terribly. They not calling them shit, but they're not playing well. They're not playing tier 1 winning competitions level like they started off with. So they have to replace them. They have to go another route. They have to drop them, right? I mean, it feels like an impossible task. Like, no one's gonna be happy that they're dropping them, but it is needed.
Yeah, like this is how it works, and you're never gonna get around this. It happens in every sport. You have to field the best team you can. There are only 5 spots on the roster, plus a couple for subs. Nobody wants to be a sub. There's going to be heartbreak, especially when you know you have to drop big household names. Who the thing is with traditional sports, it's easy because you become a traditional household name by being amazing at the game. So it's hard to drop that. Not the same with esports, because you can also be a content creator at the same time. You can also be a celebrity without you know, going into how good you are at the game. And so, you know, people have cult followings and may not be good enough to make the top 5 of a team's transfer list. So it becomes infinitely more difficult in esports, and this is always gonna happen. It's happened millions of times before in CS:GO, in Overwatch, in COD,
probably
whatever.
Every esport ever.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, it is just the case.
It's gonna continue to happen. This is just how it is.
It's one of those things. I think, you know, in a sense, you kind of feel bad for Sentinels because they do have this impossible task. But I am glad they haven't done the other thing, which we see quite often, where teams just like really just wimp out of making the changes that are needed. I would look towards kind of EG in a lot of their sport, like a lot of their teams, because it's such a moral standpoint team. For example, I think CS:GO is a great example. they, you know, had a really, really poorly underperforming team, and it took them ages to actually make anything happen. And the only thing that actually kind of made it happen was the massive conflict between kind of Stewie and the coaching staff, which became such a public kind of spout. But I think prior to that, it was just going to keep ticking across as being this really underperforming roster. So that's the only thing with me with EG is like they're kind of one of those teams that I don't like in terms of the case that they're really slow to make the necessary changes. Thankfully, Sentinels have not done that. They've kind of actually approached us being like, okay, we do need to make changes, especially with franchising. We've got actually got a down period now where we can, and we have an open window. We have until this day. They've got everything they need, and of course, they basically guaranteed money is the other bit massive thing. So they know there is a very visible return on their investment. So for investors coming into Sentinels, it's very easy to convince them because they're like, okay, you know, look here, we're getting, I don't know, $10+ million a year basically being part of this franchise thing. Give us some more money, we'll make some changes, we'll make it, you know, a bigger name. You get the return essentially. So glad they're making it. But I think across the board we're seeing quite a few changes, which is good. We can move on to our next one, which is obviously another pretty big one. We see Arian making his way into actually a different region, which would be quite interesting. What's your thoughts on this?
Big. Yeah. I mean, from XSET to global esports is wild. Change. We all knew that you know, global esports has deep pockets. A lot of APAC teams have really deep pockets. We've seen all the rumors with Bleed and Yay and everything like that. And like that's the thing, right? When this is so cool to me. I think this is awesome. The fact that, you know, Aaron is going to India. That's just like it makes me very happy to see India getting a good, like, not just good players, but big name. This could actually be, you know, we're all worried that you know, APAC stays minor in that they field teams at the same level they have, which just don't quite perform against NA or EMEA or Brazil or anything like that. But that's not the case. There's global esports making an investment with their insane amount of India money, which India is a esports powerhouse.
Exactly.
And it has not been represented in Valorant yet because of the way everything's kind of worked. With franchising, though, it opens you up to be able to, you know, because this team is not going to be based in India. They're not going to have to field Indian players. They're going to be in Korea. And they're going to be fielding players from wherever they feel like, honestly. And this is a good move. I like this. This is fun. It's interesting to see, and I'm very interested to find out how he's going to. What other changes are they going to make to build around this? Because you know, it's not a team that we've really seen at all in the kind of, you know, big leagues or anything like that. Obviously, they have made it up, but India's had a very difficult route to. It's the same with Australia, kind of thing. You know, OCE, they've had a very difficult route to. This is just the way, you know, regional stuff works, and it's very difficult sometimes to create good routes. The same thing happens to MENA. They had a really difficult route to VCT. MENA also had a difficult route. They had their own little thing, and then one MENA team could get through to VCT in EMEA, which was odd because EMEA includes the Middle East and Africa.
But,
but so this is good. This is good. I like to see that they're diversifying their rosters. I think also Rex Region were investing in Indonesian talent as well as just Philippine. So that's cool as well. This is a really good sign for APAC, and I want to see how it develops. Very good.
Yeah, I think for me as well, there's a couple other things to come into was this, which I really like. Because, okay, so first of all, it means they made a commitment that they're not going to be... I think that was the big thing with kind of just generally speaking, kind of Asia as a region, that because a lot of people don't view them as being that competitive in terms of they you know, pushing off kind of maybe the EUNA or even the SA teams now with Loud, right? A lot of people kind of sleep on them quite a bit. I think first of all, it's a commitment by Global Esports. I mean, credit to them. That's such a massive signing for kind of a multitude of reasons. It shows that they're committing to bringing in international exports towards their roster to really kind of bolster their firepower. Also shows how much money they actually really do have, because they've got some stonking pockets. But yeah, I mean, also, you know, it's a big signing in terms of it's an IGL, right? That's another huge one. It means that kind of there's going to be definitely an NA sort of play style probably incorporated in towards this roster, which when you look towards Asia and their play style, it seems like a pretty good counter, all things considered. Kind of what was originally very, very aggressive, I think, was kind of was kind of, especially those Korean teams, that's kind of what they were known for. They were super aggressive. Now they're kind of the complete opposite, a little bit like, well, very, very slow at times, right? I think the NA playstyle actually might work out really well for them. I mean, obviously, I'm not exactly sure what they're going to go for here, but I think at least they're going to incorporate a couple of ideas from Exit, which will be really cool to see. Yeah, it's a commitment, right, for Global Esports. Like, they're going international. They're bringing in these players from across the board. I'm assuming that means they'll speak English as well.
Yes.
So it means they can kind of quite literally pick players from anywhere, which would be awesome. Because I think that was the other thing for me. Was like, with kind of a lot of these Asian teams, I was concerned that they were going to just only bring in Asian talent when there's a lot of free agents from Europe, from NA, and of course there's a lot more that goes into kind of convincing them to come over towards Korea, because they have to upheave their life, they have to move halfway across the world, and then compete in a completely different region that they're not used to. So you probably need a lot of convincing to go into that, which also includes a lot of money on the line. But I'm really glad to see. I think actually it's a really cool signing, because he individually also is very good. We all know his name now. I mean, especially kind of recently what we saw at in Istanbul. The fact that they kind of put the numbers towards FPX, for example, right? The fact that series went so far to the distance and was very, very close to going one way. I think it's all around a good signing. I mean, I'm very interested to see kind of how also other teams from that region, or kind of just generally speaking from Asia, react right off the back of it, because we now see that Global Esports are so committed to like bringing across massive names from all around the world, so they've got to match it, right, which surely is kind of the perfect steps to kind of bolstering the region and kind of actually getting it in that conversation deservedly, and not having kind of the odd name like DRX, for example, and then everyone else just kind of gets slept on. And now it's, of course, we've kind of got, one team who are making, the initial steps to really bolster the region. And I think, as unfortunate as it is in some cases, one of the prime ways to bolster a region is with hefty investment. You just have to do it, right? And obviously, we're going to be just speaking about how Sentinel's doing exactly the same thing. Heavy investment. They're keeping one out of their previous 5 players. So the Global Esports are doing a similar thing in terms of bringing in big names from across the world to actually make this work for them. Sick to see. I'm actually really interested to see how this pans out, and I hope this also spurs on the rest of the teams to kind of match them, because there's a lot of free agents still in towards NA and towards EU that are floating about, right? That are huge names that still need teams. I think as of now, we still haven't really got a lock in for the likes of we still haven't got a lock in for the likes of kind of Ardis. So there's only rumors at the moment. I think a lot of them seem pretty secure, but even still, I think no actual confirmation. So who knows? Maybe we could see a few more players, big name players, household names from EU and NA float over to Asia. It's going to really bolster firepower over there.
Yeah, I'd really like to see that. I mean, it just also means that no region is going to get left behind, no team is going to get left behind in terms of viewership and fan base, and people are going to be able to have a player that they can identify with easily anywhere in the world, and you can watch the Pacific League and be like, there's some players that
I know this guy.
I know this guy. I've seen him play before in VCT NA, and it's going to make sure that VCT, you're not just watching your own region and then international events. You're watching everything, and you're kind of seeing everything that's going on. Because right now, it's sometimes difficult to watch, VCT Korea and be like, I know what's going on here, because you don't know any of the players' names. You don't watch them on Twitch or anything like that, and it's just kind of like, that's what people find hard, especially, we've seen it in Overwatch as well, like way back when, let's say London Spitfire fielded a whole Korean team, and everybody was like, I don't dislike the fact that we've got a really good team, but how is this the London? I don't know how I'm supposed to support this team when it's supposed to be identifying towards London. It's supposed to be geared towards Europeans and geared towards the UK. This is so a diverse team is really good for everybody. So I like that.
I massively agree. I think it sets a good precedent. Also, it's kind of the good things about franchising, right? In terms of that, because these teams have guaranteed income and these hefty investments, they can make these really awesome signings, which kind of. It's obviously the other thing for them, for Global Esports, even though they are already a ginormous brand, it's bolstering their brand with an entirely new fan base. I mean, he's a household name over towards NA, and probably the same. You probably say the same in towards EU, right? Most people know who this guy is. So yeah, it's kind of a big commitment, but I think it's kind of a worthy one, because it brings in a lot of new eyes over towards the region. I think that's probably what Riot are hoping for as well, that kind of a region which is maybe slightly underappreciated actually gets sort of the respect it deserves, in a sense, and by bringing across these big names, that'll be huge. I think it's pretty unlikely that Ye joins over there. I know there was like rumors about his insane contract offer. I feel like he'll probably try and stick in NA if I had to guess. I mean, I know he said he's preferring NA or EMEA kind of offers. I'm sure he it's not like he's going to be short of offers. Is probably the way I'm putting it. So I feel like he won't go over towards Asia, even though there has been kind of interest from teams there and a lot of money put down for him. He doesn't really need to. So we're gonna move on to our next one. I think someone a little bit closer to home for us in terms of a coach that we know. Salah has joined Vitality, and I think this is quite a cool one, obviously because we know him because he worked at Tundra for a bit, and then of course OG after that. A pretty common name, all things considered, and a good signing. I think also, again, we speak about commitments for Vitality or commitments for teams, especially those coming in towards the conversation with franchising, and that's an awesome one to see, right? I'm interested to see kind of how he helps this side, because I think with Tundra we saw a lot of good stuff coming out of them, especially in quite a tough region. Polaris obviously always was going to be quite hard, and then OG the same from them. I think they shocked a lot of people with how good they actually were.
Yeah. I mean, this is like everything Salah touches kind of turns to gold. Yes, I think he's kind of been slept on quite a bit, because obviously Tundra did very well, and although the team disbanded because of funding, sponsorship stuff, he then went to OG, and suddenly OG LDN, and suddenly OG LDN get fourth in the last chance qualifiers over Na'Vi, over Guild, over Ascent.
Huge names,
And so this is exciting. I'm interested to. Obviously, we don't know what the roster's going to be like for Vitality yet.
That's very true.
So it's hard to say what exactly is going to happen. But this is a good signing. And
we haven't had rumors either. I got to say. I think for Vitality, I'm keeping an eye out. We haven't really heard anything. I mean, this is kind of the first official thing. At least for kind of some of them, I know we're kind of touching on a little bit, but there has been. A couple of the rumors here and there with like Na'Vi and CNED, for example, is one that comes to mind. At least it's kind of been rumors for most of the rosters, but for Vitality, I haven't really heard too much. So they're either very good at keeping things on the down low, which credit to them if they are on the hush hush, or they're leaving things a little bit late. I'm hoping it's the first option, because as we mentioned, there's literally only 5 days until things get locked in. But hey ho, all good. So roster stuff, we can see things out there. That's all good. We do now move on to a little bit of a damper note. Now this one, we are delving deep into the sludge that is an absolute shit show. We are going to be looking at a lot of recent conversations around Gamechangers, and unfortunately, as much as we love Gamechangers and kind of what it does for the scene, what it does for kind of, just generally the women's scene is specifically, there's been a lot of shit going on recently. And this is probably the most public of all of them. So, of course, EQ Cerise played against CLG Red and beat them 2-1. And then there was a lot of allegations around one player called Dyslexia and what was happening with them in terms of, we'll start with the first one, which is probably... I mean, both aren't great, right? There's an absolute double whammy of shit show here. But the first one, I don't even know which one even counts as worse. But the first one is Dyslexia pretended to be non-binary. So they could compete in Gamechangers, and it was just bullshit, basically. It just wasn't true. Yeah. So that's the first one.
I mean, this is the thing, right? Okay, so they get accused of cheating. They why am I calling them they at this point? He gets accused of cheating, and somebody comes up with screenshots as well from him being in a at this time still them being in a Discord with so submitted a ticket. I didn't cheat whatsoever, and then somebody replies with a picture of them in a Discord where you buy cheats.
Yeah, literally customer,
absolutely
by the way.
Amazing.
Customer. So
there you go.
Basically, the first thing I want to just say, Dyslexia, the fucking balls on you, mate. Like to double down in a twit longer. You have got some cojones, kid. Like, that is serious. He was like, I sent off a ticket because that in fact was not true. And it's
okay, here's the thing, right?
Away.
It's like, I was not cheating. Whether or not you were cheating in the event, hello, you have in the past. And that's
customer.
It's because I was queued with somebody in the past who was cheating, and it's like, no. Hello.
That's not how you get banned. You don't get banned for I mean, you probably could get some sort of like slap on the wrist, but technically speaking, I think you'd probably be in a grey area, but maybe okay. But this is you are literally a customer. Like, this is just proven. And August, for those who don't know, this is from some Discord server where you buy the cheats from, or like I don't exactly really know how cheats work.
I don't know how that works.
I haven't really cheated, but from my understanding, I don't know why you have to join a Discord server. I just assume you just buy it from a website, but you have to join a Discord server apparently. Okay, first of all, right, let me play devil's advocate here, right? If you're gonna cheat, right, first of all, you're a piece of shit, but whatever. Don't join the server on your main account, you moron.
That is wild. Because absolutely.
All they have to do is someone who is in this server and someone who's in the Gamechanger server or like the Galorant server, for example, all they have to do is click your profile and then just click mutual servers. And they're like, hang on a second, he's in the cheating server. Go into the cheating server, customers, hang on, what's going on here then? It's just moronic. Like, it actually is like so dumb. If you're going to do this, at least be subtle about it. I think there's probably a case of, for me, I think for Dyslexia, he never had a thought ever about being pro. Probably just wasn't good enough. Is what my assumption. Or definitely wasn't good enough for them. For him, kind of when he tried. I'm not too sure what his competitive experience was prior to Gamechangers, kind of in the male scene.
Right.
I really couldn't find too much on him. But I'm assuming, probably didn't really care about ever being pro. Bought cheats because he just wanted to graft through ranked, whatever. Cheated his way through ranked. Didn't get caught, which, I mean, fair play, that's actually quite commendable because normally it's pretty easy to get caught, obviously, especially with kind of Riot's anti-cheat being pretty strict. But yeah, I think probably the case of here was, from the twit longer he said as well, it was like he communicated with someone on EQ Cerise and kind of just said like, oh, you know, I can just say I'm non-binary, and they were like, yeah, sure. So I can't remember who the person was in EQ Series, but they're also a piece of shit because like
all of them are pieces of shit for this.
I mean,
and the thing is, unless okay, right, we don't know how many people on EQ Series knew that this person was actually male, or identified as male, and was pretending to be non-binary. But the thing is, right, there's a reason we call it. It's an event for women and marginalized genders. Marginalized. There's a reason we call them marginalized, and that's because of people like you who give people reasons to think, oh, this now every single time a non-binary person does well in Gamechangers, everybody's going to go, well, they're not actually. This isn't. They're not non-binary. They're just a man pretending to be non-binary. You can see this. They're doing too well. And now people who are non-binary have to not just worry about performing well at Gamechangers. They have to worry about not performing too well at Gamechangers, because otherwise all these people with pitchforks are going to come out saying, do you remember Dyslexia when they faked being non-binary? And the whole thing is that it is a trust system.
It ruins it for everybody, basically, is the thing.
Right.
And this is why at times, like, this is kind of the big thing about, and the same thing is in CS, or the same conversation happens in CS, because they've got ESR Impact, right? The Impact League for women and marginalized genders, right? So same thing, and the same conversation happened there, and the same conversation happened in Valorant of when it first got announced, Gamechangers, you had the odd dickhead on Twitter who was like, well, I'm just gonna pretend to be a girl. I was like, shut the fuck up, like, you're an idiot, like, shut up. Just stop being a prick, basically. But this is actually like an actual it's basically proof in a sense to like kind of just dickish people that they can actually just lie, which is really shit, because obviously there's no way to kind of say to someone, well, actually no, you're not non-binary, like, there's obviously no way, but it is, like you said, a trust system, and this guy has just abused this trust system to get in, and then of course to play against one of the biggest teams in Gamechangers, or as one of the more notable teams, notable organizations, right? But being out of CLG Red, and then to cheat. But I think there's a lot of other things to go into it as well. If he was cheating in this, how bad are his cheats? Because he bottom fragged in the last map, which is actually incredible. Unless it was like an elaborate ploy to like fly under the radar, which obviously didn't work. And of course, you've seen this article here. So CLG, banger tweet, but I gotta say, by the way, like, absolute heater. That one was sick. I love that. Very, very good from them. So Amber, the IGL, was absolutely like storming about on Twitter, saying like, oh, you know, the fact that they get paid and lost to us, and now calling us dog shit, like, oh, they're like children, all of this stuff. Like, she was like going at it on Twitter, and like, it was like, she's like schizo tweeting basically. Like it was like non-stop.
And
then she was going on. I'm going on record to flat out deny this, which have been deleted now, by the way. Going on record to flat out deny this game against COG's Extreme Close. The player in question, who allegedly using third-party software, was bottom fragging that map. If it does come out that my teammate was cheating, that sucks. We would have won the match anyways. No, you wouldn't, because that's not how it works. Because even if there was bottom fragging, there's still obviously, arguments made that they could have just given you information like, oh, guys, just go and stack A. Yeah, so, yeah.
And,
obviously,
cheating aside,
if
okay, we don't know how many people in EQ were complicit with this whole non-binary thing.
Yes,
but if you were complicit, you are just as bad as this guy.
Exactly,
if, you gave him the platform to do this, you vouched for him as a non-binary person to perform in this event, and that is, you have ruined the experience for literally every other person that participated in this event, every viewer. You're just as bad as them.
Exactly.
Just as bad as him. And that's saying something, because he's a massive piece of shit.
Spot on. Spot on. But no, it is right. I mean, it's caused massive effects just because of the fact that this can be abused going further on, right? And I think as well, it's like, this is kind of the thing that everyone forewarned of, like, is there a potential that something like this going to happen with these female marginal tournaments, that someone can just lie because they aren't good enough in, they aren't good enough in the male scene, for example, so they want to just go and try and their potluck it in a tournament which specifically isn't for them, to kind of to build up another scene. So one day we can have proper competition where it's mixed, and kind of we all know that esports for a long time was very male dominated, and that was a very negative thing. And finally we're seeing kind of this implication by Riot to actually build up the female marginalized gender scene so that they can actually compete on the same level, have the same level of investment, have the same level of eyes on them, all the things that make kind of the male scene good, that the female scene deserves as well, right? And this is it. They've abused the trust system, which has caused and can cause a lot of long-term implications. I mean, so far it's still so early, right? I mean, this is as of the time of recording. I think it's only got broken like 2 days ago, maybe. I'm still seeing new things happening all the time.
Yeah, it's so disappointing. It's just it's just so sad, because it's just people breaking a trust system that was going so well. Honestly, we hadn't had anything big like this. There was obviously some breaking of the trust before, but it wasn't anything massive.
It wasn't this level, right?
This is just unbelievable that people would go this far and do this kind of thing, and it's just fucking. It's so disappointing.
Part of me actually wants to see if I can find the twit longer, because there was a lot of gems in there. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, it was pretty bad. But I think probably the other thing to mention is that, like, unfortunately, there's been quite a lot of rough things going on within Gamechangers. It's a great tournament that obviously does so much right for the scene, and then there's the few individuals that making it worse. And probably can mention that the second one we kind of touched on.
We're gonna have to be very gentle about this one, because it's a tough topic.
It's a very tough one to talk about, but I think it's definitely obviously massive news. So we can move away from dyslexia being an idiot. Actually, wait, I have actually got dyslexia's tweet thing. So there's like another addition to this, and it's actually brand new as of today. So I'll get this open here. So Dyslexia said, yes, I do admit that I own cheating software. I was banned for it prior to using it and stopped because of it. I was not used during any of the games played.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. You're literally still a cheater. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, no ifs, buts, or maybes. You have cheated. You've got banned prior for cheating, and now you're trying to say, like, oh yeah, but I didn't use it now.
I didn't actually cheat during the event.
Yeah, all right. Like, there's just no proof here. So, like, it just goes from bad to worse. It's like, just like, I can open the tweet longer, which is actually quite comical, because he talks about, like, asking for forgiveness, basically.
Oh my god!
I know my actions are affecting you all. I promise you, I won't ever make that mistake again. Yeah, you won't, because you're never gonna play again. You idiot! Like, what do you mean? Of course you won't. I'll ask you for forgiveness.
The consequences of my actions, of my repeated and conscious actions.
Yeah. I ask for forgiveness for my actions and the irreparable damage that I've caused through Gamechangers community. Like this, like I don't think this dyslexic or dyslexia person. Also, first of all, what is that name? Second of all, yeah, like there's a massive long-term implication here of this becoming very problematic, because it's opened the door to prove to, like, dickish people that they can maybe sneak under the radar and actually get away with being a guy who doesn't, isn't a marginalized gender or isn't a female.
It puts every other and it puts all of the actual non-binary people under a microscope now. Not only in
people
terms
look
of
at them, which is not
fan justice, but now they're going to have to go through more checks and more questioning before they even get into the event and stuff like this. And it's just the last thing somebody who is questioning their gender identity or has has decided that they're
of
making their lives even tougher to get into Game Changers and compete and to play a video game. Nobody wants this, and you're making it that way.
Yeah, I think for me, it's probably just a case of, I think, okay, even if the actions are terrible, they always will be terrible. I don't think it's ever for me anyway. I'm gonna be like, okay, if he'd come out originally and just be like, right, I fucked up, I'm sorry, like this is really bad, I did cheat, I did pretend to be non-binary, I'm an idiot, I'm sorry, like I don't expect forgiveness, hey ho, this is it. But it's like the doubling down which makes it worse. It's the exact same thing as G2 and Carlos, right? With like him doubling down on the Andrew Tate thing. It's like, yes, that's the thing that's made it worse. If he, like with Carlos, if he'd come out and apologized immediately, it may not have been as bad. Here, dyslexia, I don't even know which one is which, but if he'd come out and just be like, I was an idiot, I just wanted to play in Game Changers, I did cheat in the past, but I didn't cheat here, I'm sorry, I'm not expecting forgiveness, whatever. That's it. I think it probably would have been still as bad, but maybe people would have been like, okay,
right. He wouldn't have been ostracized from the community, maybe.
But it
would have been
the doubling
called
down.
a piece of shit. But
yeah, and then you'd be caught in 4K, like the moron you are. So, I think it's just caused a lot of problems. Also, just like even the audacity to submit a ticket just made me laugh. Like, it's like you're cheating.
Shut the fuck up.
You know you're cheating, and you know you're lying about your gender to compete in a marginalized gender tournament. You're a piece of shit. You actually are a piece of
Honestly,
shit.
just a terrible person.
Yeah.
And now we're moving on to more terrible people. The bad news isn't over.
Speaking of pieces of shit, this is a tough topic, so we're gonna take this one as lightly as we can because this is still ongoing as of like right now. But so this is what we'll start with. Rising Hope dropped their entire roster, their entire female roster. But the coaches, so the coach and the assistant coach of Simons and I think is it Midvik? I don't know. I was struggling to have a word. I feel like if I tried to pronounce that, my furniture would start floating.
I don't even know if they're anything to do with this, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah. But obviously, the main, of course, perpetrator we're talking about here is Simons.
Who has been involved in drama well before this?
Yes,
before this.
They
back to 2020
in the team, right? And that was like the first thing. I think when I saw this, I think it was like a flash in the pan. It like came up on my feed, and I was like, okay, cool. They got the team.
Roster move.
Don't know what's happening here. Probably just picking on a whole new roster. Hey ho.
And
then it gets a lot worse. So I don't know. You want to take it away? This one's very rough to talk about. There's a lot going on.
I mean, I can't remember whether it was the IGL or who came out and said.
Yeah. I think it was
Jail. Yeah. Coach. It was a coach. Said basically all of this stuff about Simons, and it was stuff about them getting their dick out on camera.
Yeah.
They're sexually harassing.
Jokes about it. I think is also on top of that.
Drinking during officials and stuff like this. It just egregious stuff that should never happen. And of course we don't know the extent of the sexual harassment, so I'm not going to comment.
It's
on
all
that.
alleged, basically, is the way.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything about that one because that's a really touchy topic, and all the victims are going through their shit, and I don't want to have to get in the way of that. But no matter what, any sexual harassment is egregious, no matter what it is, and the fact that the team was dropped instead of the coach, is the worst move of bad faith I've ever seen in any org ever. Like,
wait, but bear in mind as well, just their reasoning is the insane bit to me. Like keeping him is absolutely terrible. Like, there's no excuses for that. Like as you mentioned, it's the worst thing. But initially, Lazar, who my understanding is Lazar's the co-owner of the org of Rising Hope, said wanted to keep Simons in the org with the reason that he is a big star. Is just absolutely insane. Like, So yeah, there's a lot going on here. Basically,
I mean, this reminds me of something else, which was you know, alleged stuff, and somebody is still signed to an org as a content creator, and they have just not mentioned it at all because they get a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just this kind of this is just so fucked up. It's so fucked up,
so bad. And I think, you know, obviously, what is the thing here is that what he's done, this Simon's guy. Terrible, right? I mean, obviously, no one's going to look at this and be like, you know, there's nothing positive to take away from this. He's a terrible person, should not be involved in the real world, realistically. He should be behind bars if some of the alleged stuff is true. Never mind keeping his job as, you know, on the roster, kind of involved, you know, with the coaching duties and whatever. So the fact that he dropped the team, not him, is insane. So it means that the org is kind of sticking with him, which is just ridiculous to me. Because they would have known, like, the players all would have come together and be like, this is what's happening. Like, here we go. And, you know, they drop the roster leaves, you know, hey, same result. But they keep him involved after these allegations. Like, even if it is allegations, this person should not be involved at all because there's so many, you know, massive things I can go involved in towards this. But even just on the most basic things of PR, there's no way that Rising Hope ever recover from this. Like, no matter what happens, like, they're always going to be known as the team who dropped their roster because their alleged sexual assault of their coach was a big star, so they kept him instead. Which is wild. But yeah, some of the stuff he would do is horrible. Like, he would turn on his camera and show his dick. What the fuck are you doing? And then make jokes about it when they were like specifically tell him not to. He drinks during scrims with his camera on as well, through scrims and officials and, like, you know, times where you're meant to be pretty sober and do your job. Even that is worthy of, like, just drinking during any involvement is pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of just gets worse and worse as it goes.
Like, the thing is, the victims aren't going to they're not going to just go to a new team and be like, it's fine.
This is life changing in a way,
right? This is, from what I've heard, even any form of sexual harassment is going to leave you, you know, it's going to have an impact on your mental and everything like this. From what I've heard, it was genuinely pretty traumatizing, and I just can't fathom how they're continuing to field this guy on their roster, and completely ignoring and downplaying the, you know, the terrible shit that has happened to this team and what will continue to affect them. Well, as long as they remember what happened, it's shit. It's terrible. This is stuff that we should not even close to permit in this community, and we have done such a good job so far of kind of, you know, suppressing and making people who are involved in sexual harassment and all of this in the community, getting rid of them from the community and making sure that they never touch, you know, Valorant or esports again. We've done a pretty good job of that in Valorant, I'd say. There are some cases where, you know, people have stayed on and it's been a whole thing. But as a general, we're pretty decent as a community. This is not good enough. This is just not remotely good enough. And you know, having been involved in multiple kind of esports across the board and like the communities involved in them, I would say I follow the vast majority. The only ones that I'm actually not involved in, I also with MOBAs. Aside from that, anything else, I'd say I've at least have some kind of experience with the communities. I would make the pretty strong argument that Valorant's probably the nicest and like the easiest to get along with, easiest to be a part of. There's not that level of gatekeeping that a lot of the others do. And for the most part, people are being very, very good within this kind of in this scene. And then like a few individuals messing up. Of course, we got, you know, the EQ Cerise thing, which is, you know, obviously it's bad for a multitude of reasons. And then this, which is even worse. But it's kind of just more, again, it's more that thing I was saying again of it's terrible, never should be accepted. It should be seen with a massive, massive bad note. But the gall to double down on it and keep him on is just ridiculous. I mean, we still haven't yet to get a statement. I think this article came out yesterday at the time of recording, and I saw it on Twitter last night. But you got to feel for Jehil and kind of all the other girls. So, you know, obviously they're very visibly and very obviously shaken up by it, traumatized, as put here, which is just
obviously he's fucking horrible. You don't really wish that on kind of your worst enemy kind of thing. So surely something's gonna happen. I'm pretty sure Riot, they're very on it. They'll have a deep look into this, the same way they did in previous instances where there's stuff going on. They'll have a look into. Of course, this is all alleged right now. This is not us saying anything has happened, but. All I will say is I don't think there would have been actions taken to leave and make a mutual decision to leave if there wasn't kind of a backbone and a foundation to them. So it's very, very fucked up. And of course, for everyone who was part of that old roster, the old Rising Hope lot, I all we can do is we can hope they're all right, because it's really fucked up essentially. But on top of it, I remember this tweet from a long time ago. Where there was a tournament and they didn't pay the winners, and this is actually for me. This was back in 2020. So this is for me when I was early doors getting involved in Valorant, and there was a kind of a tweet about like guys not getting paid out, and they had like the Discord receipts of how they'd won this tournament, like it being streamed, right? The whole thing, it's seen that they'd been won, and they had the receipts that hadn't been paid. They've been DMing, whatever. It was the same piece of shit. Like, so not only is he just a piece of shit in this way, but also he's got prior terrible behavior, which has been now resurfaced. Because I remember this doing the rounds back in 2020, but he didn't even pay out the $3,000 prize pool that it was, and I know Zeke was doing some tweets about it. So, which has obviously now been confirmed. I think for the people at Rising Hope, like the ex Rising Hope players, I mean, like I said, like that's something that affects you for a long, long time. It's a very hard note to talk about, because this is normally quite a light little podcast. We have a little bit of banter, but it's just very difficult with the amount of shit that's gone on in the last 2 weeks and how severe these allegations actually are. Like, this is something that they should never be involved with this scene at all. So. Yeah, it's rough. It's very hard to talk about. I mean, all we can do is kind of wish them the best, right? I hope everything's all right for them. Because that probably has serious implications long term for the players individually. And I mean, if this stuff is true and this guy remains even remotely involved, many questions have to be asked about the organization.
Yep. There's nothing much more you can say about it. Obviously, it's terrible shit.
Sweet. Is what it is. But I mean, also as well, it's great to see all the support. I mean, that's kind of the big thing. That's how actually I saw it. I didn't follow Jahale prior to this.
I'm happy there's a good support system within Valorant. I think there are a lot of good people around the industry. There are a lot of good people that are, happy to talk and happy to, reach out and be, we have a good community going, and we do have a really good core in terms of everybody who is willing to, and that's the thing. It's a welcoming community. There are bad apples. I'm happy that people are actually reaching out and
vocal. I think is the big thing.
Vocal, yes, able to actually fucking don't call it cancel culture, you pieces of shit.
Exactly.
This kind of thing where we can call out pieces of shit in the community, and we can try to help victims, and that's the most important part, is helping the victims, and I hope they do have the support system around them that they need.
I think as well, just to add to it, the kind of reason having this tweet up, I think the two statements here by Yinsu and Thomas are actually spot on as well. Needs to be locked up, keep thrown away, absolutely spot on, but the bare minimum is his career has to be gone. The fact that he's still involved is just wild. But yeah, and as Yinsu says, right, this is not the first time we've heard this guy's name, crop up for something he's done wrong. Previously, he was hosting a tournament and then not paying anybody. Now, of course, is 10 times worse, or what he does. I mean, infinite amount of times worse what he's done because of the implications of it. It's not no longer a case of he hasn't paid anybody, which is bad, but it's not what we've got now. So this shit is what it is. But on a solemn note, that one, it's a very, very rough. A rough one. Dropping the team instead of the coach with those allegations is just wild. But hey ho, we'll move on to a lovely positive note of what makes Valorant and Gamechangers and all the rest very good. G2 Zen versus Guild. Guild are for the first time as well champions in EMEA, and what a final it was as well. Obviously, you mentioned you followed them all the way through the open quals. It was I mean, they were steamrolling the way through. But I think everyone expected them to make to the main event. And a lot of people even made the conversation about them making it to the finals. But, to take down G2 Gazen, I think I'm going to be perfectly honest. I didn't expect that. I still, in my heart, believe that G2 Gazen were the dominant force within within kind of Game Changers EMEA, I still thought they were kind of untouchable, just because some of the individuals. I mean, Giuliano is the one you always comes to the forefront of your mind. But credit to Guild, what a game! 5 maps as well.
You can't take it. This is just this was an amazing finals. It was so good to watch.
Yeah.
All of the players did so well, and this is just. It was just so cool because they had boot camp going on, and you could see the reactions of the players. The coach joined, obviously, and it was just so cool. Like, this is exactly what I want out of Game Changers, and this is a amazing story heading into the championship as well, because obviously both of these teams are now qualified for the championship. G2 on circuit points, and Guildex through the actual winning the tournament itself. So, oh my god, I cannot wait to watch them come up against all of the other teams from different regions. We don't know the results from most of them yet, but we will soon. So, oh god.
Yeah, it's early doors right now. But I think, as you mentioned, the thing that makes me love this more is that, like, both of them will see them in the next stage, rather than, like, you know, if G2 just go through, then okay, hey ho, and then, you know, maybe some of the team off circuit points fills in, but we get to see both of these, and there's a real good chance that we see a rematch coming through, and then it's a case of kind of who joins them coming from over in NA. I think is another one. I mean, NA, a couple of names over there, C9, those lot were always the big names. C9 White for the longest time were like the biggest name of who everyone said, if anyone's going to beat G2 Gazen, it'll be them. And now, of course, we've got the conversation of, well, they are beatable. They're not this, like, you know, untouchable side who nobody can seem to topple. They do have weaknesses. I mean, granted, it went all 5 maps, but even still, we know that this side is beatable, which makes it all the more interesting. And I think as well, it's a big thing for a lot of teams outside of EMEA who probably will be attending the next stage. They're going to be like, okay, you know, they're going to be hard counter-stratting, hard VOD reviewing that game of kind of what went wrong. Because it wasn't as well, it wasn't a case of, you know, it was a bad day for G2 Zen. They got beat, you know, fair and fair. They stepped up, they came to play. Juliana was still doing exactly what Juliana normally does. And they lost because they did get outplayed. And also as well, I just want to shout out Ness as well. The stats she was put up overall. Yeah. Look at that. 238 ACS, which is great. Actually, Juliana does just top her out, but plus 27 KD. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous from her. You know, the individuals really stepped up, and her specifically. And the fact that she's playing kind of the Viper, well, she's playing like kind of the more smokes, right? The Omen, Viper, fair play. I'm interested how this pans out now going towards the next stage. Do you now see Guild as the best? Well, maybe even the best in the world.
Oh,
as a tough ask, it's very tough to say. That's the thing, right?
Yeah. Every the top 4 teams in EMEA were all neck and neck for the whole event. Like, Na'Vi obviously as well was a big one that they were in the upper finals and against G2, and then they lost to G2 and Guildex. Unfortunately for them, but they put up an amazing performance throughout the whole thing. And G2, specifically talking about G2 and Guild, they were neck and neck through the whole thing. Yeah. There was never a series that they had that was not less than, you know, that was not a bigger win than a map between them. So they are neck and neck to me, I think. Guildex, obviously, they have the quality and they have shown that. Yes. But it's so much can change by the time we get to international that I think they are, you know, they both have the potential to be the best team in the world right now. I
agree. I think, you know, so we've got 3 teams locked in now for Game Changers with G2 Gazen, Guildex, and an X10 Sapphire from APAC, right? So that's what we've got locked in so far. The NA series is starting in 2 days as of the time of recording. Yeah, it's also on the 12th, I'm pretty sure. It's the 10th now. And there's obviously some pretty big names committed there that everyone's looking towards. C9 White being, of course, one of the main ones. But then even you know, TSMX, I think is that we start to make a conversation themselves. I think it'll be very interesting about how that one pans out. A lot of people have been looking towards Misfits as well about kind of what they can bring to the table, because they've been up and down at times. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it should be very, very good to see how that one pans out. If I had to put you on the spot to make a prediction, who do you think's taking it? It's a hard one, but you got give me.
It's really hard. Okay, with absolutely no information whatsoever as to know who is. I think I might go with G2. They come back and they VOD review and they really, you know, this is the first time they've had any kind of like difficulty.
Hiccup,
really.
Right? Yeah.
So I think this is a learning experience for them. I think they really bolster their kind of, you know, winning potential, and I don't know. The thing is, I don't know how good Cloud9 White, how good any of these teams are going to be against them. How good X10 Sapphire are against this, we have no clue. We have no baseline. We have nothing. It could be completely, you know, out of left field. A team from halfway across the globe win it. But for me, G2 just have been an incredible team, and they have that potential to absolutely, like, if they learn from that experience, and they're already close enough that they could really a little bit of difficulty does pressure makes diamonds, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think we can probably make predictions about who's going to go through. I think for NA, for me, I still feel like C9 White are just going to take that one. The only thing for me is that so if C9 White take it, then second place coming up on points, because we've got NA points and we've got Brazil points to come through. So C9 White, I still think they're the favourites. I think they have just been the slightly more dominant force locally or domestically even towards NA. So it's kind of, if you look towards our second place, the teams that are around them is pretty close. Like they're kind of 3 below them. You got Shopify Rebellion on 120 points, Evil Geniuses on 90, and TSMX on 80. So it's very, very close at the top. So that kind of hunt for the second place does become quite interesting. Over towards Brazil, it's so clear who's like the best in that region. With Team Liquid just absolutely steamrolling away. I mean, they've been absolutely insane. So. I mean, they're great, and I think, if I'm right in saying, the only other one on top of that is, I think it's East Asia. I think because there's a LATAM, there's the finals for LATAM, there's Brazil circuit points, which should just be Team Liquid, just because I don't think, I'm pretty sure I read something, there's not even a world in which Brazil Team Liquid can't make it through, because they've got like double the points of second place. So I don't think there's a world which they make it through. There's 2 spots open from NA. There's the LATAM regional finals, and there's just East Asia, which has a couple of, I guess, notable names over there, but I don't know too much about those rosters. I haven't followed Gamechangers in that region. I'm not going to kind of sit here and pretend I have. So I really can't make a prediction at all about that one. But what is that it should be very interesting, because we're going to see 2 coming from NA, 2 from South America, one of which being probably Team Liquid. I can't see a world in which they don't. And then there's Firepower versus Crew Female. On one of those 2 as well. So basically, it's starting to pan out like that. Those finals are going to be pretty sick. And it's in Berlin in. It's about a month, isn't it? It's about midway through November, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah, somewhere. Hold on.
Yes, midway through November. I've got it here. I can get it up. So there we go. Midway through November, November 15th, 21st in Berlin. So should be sick. There you go. Here the teams got locked in. G2 Guild, X10, and then of course Brazil circuit points. That should just be Team Liquid. Yeah, look, 3,160 in comparison to 1,700. I mean, there's not a world in which Team Liquid don't make it through there. C9 White are a little bit ahead. I think it's starting to write itself a little bit here. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out. This will be quite interesting between these 2, between LATAM North and South, because again, I don't really know them too well, so I really can't make a prediction. But they're both they seem like the powerhouses in their region, so should be sick. We'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. But 15th of November. Well, obviously we'll probably do another episode before then anyway. But good stuff. Very good stuff. We can move on to the other side of Gamechangers. We had a little bit of a bug, didn't we? One that's you wanted to have a little talk about. We'll play this for you so you can understand what actually happened, and then we can kind of get into the details. So have a little watch.
In the after plant, you got full belts of utility, including snake bites and shot darts and operator gone. Okay, Ness. Fair play. There is again. Yeah, they've done it again. They've used it twice, 2 rounds in a row to just try and remove the damage.
Yeah.
Samsy will at least
okay. So what you just saw there.
Okay. I'll go back to basically exactly where it is.
If you were paying attention, maybe you're thinking, Ness.
Yeah.
What are you doing there? What's going on here? And so it was found out about a month ago. I think it was made very public that if you put your own snakebite on top of an enemy snakebite, it doesn't do the enemy snakebite damage anymore. It only does the 33% damage from your team's snakebite. So you don't die when you're defusing the spike. And this was very quickly put into the rulebook as a this is a bug. You're not allowed to use it. You're not allowed to use it whatsoever. You forfeit the rounds you use it in after a warning. And cool. All good. We've solved the problem. Obviously, Riot haven't fixed it yet, but it's there. You can't do it anymore. Very good. Very good. Very cool. And then Ness pulls that out 3 times in Guild versus 3 times in Guild versus Ascend, and it was picked up. I was watching the kind of behind the scenes kind of chat room with the admins going over this one, and they were given a warning. And if they did it again, then they would, well, by the rulebook, they would forfeit the rounds.
Yes.
However, they didn't do that. They replayed the rounds, and Guild still won. So
yeah.
There's a world in which you could say that Guild should not have won this series.
Yeah, I think it's very dicey. It's kind of, it's not, well, I originally want to say it's a grey area, but I don't even think it is, because it is literally in plain text, in black and white, in the rule book, that you can't use this. And the fact that they got a warning and then still used it 2 more times after that, I think it's probably another case similar to the Killjoy, right? We saw that in Istanbul, where obviously there was a bug. We had a replay of the round. Different scenario there, because it's not a bug in which is like it's not purposely implicated in a sense. That was just a bug in the game. This is
Guild were very quick to say, the other members of Guild were very quick to say none of this is communicated, but there was no, you know, put the molly on the spike kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Ness very much did this of her own volition.
Yes, it's one person's fault in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Which, and also, just a side note, the only thing I read about this, if that is not true, by the way, if Guild are like, oh, Ness, do the snake bite thing, right?
It was very quick. You can see it, like it's landed and she's already aiming at that spike.
Yes, exactly. So
she does know what she's doing.
If Guild have said, right, Ness, do the thing, and then they've just like thrown her under the bus, or like she's like trying to be, you know, the white knight here, like I'll take the fall, like that's quite a peak as well, because you know it's all now lying on one person. But you know, if we're just gonna play the facts we know. They've said it was just her, right? So,
I mean, okay, the decision has been made that the rounds were replayed. Guild won the tournament. We're not going back now. It is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
What's done is done. That's fine by me. It's questionable. It's not okay. Probably shouldn't have done that, Ness. I'm not gonna defend you on this one. I do like you. You're a great player, but that is
It's just about that you did it 2 more times, right? It's the thing that we've been saying, Matt. We've been saying this about stop fucking doubling down. Stop it, please. If you're gonna make a mistake, just do it once.
To be fair, at least they just apologise for it immediately as well.
True.
And that's the best thing. Right. So. Yeah, it's shit. And you know, you can make the argument that who's going to look through the whole bug list, but you probably should have known that wasn't okay. Ness.
Yeah. Not gonna lie to you. Do you know what though? Also, I think this is now the fact that we've had in the two biggest tournaments at the moment for both the male and kind of female and marginalized genders. Now we've had 2 bugs which have been, you know, in plain sight. Surely now we've got to see Riot make some changes. I mean,
of course, when I say Ness, this is bad. I also mean Riot, fix your fucking game. Like there are a lot of these. There are a lot of things that have to be listed in and the longer this list gets, the more likely it is that players are just going to go, fuck it, who cares?
Do you know what though?
In
Riot
the end, it is your
pretty
responsibility.
Good. They've been good at doing this as well. We've seen. I mean, do you remember? I know a pretty prominent one back. Early 2021, I want to say, late 2020 was obviously the Cypher cams. They were an absolute mess, right? I mean, I remember specifically on Breeze, you know, that one just above main.
Yeah,
that one was
versus Vivo Keyed.
Yeah, I was obviously, you know, the big one, and they're normally pretty good at fixing them. I don't know what's happened recently where, I mean, obviously the forefront of their minds being franchising. They're pretty busy, it seems, but the dev team have got to do something about this, because I think it's safe to say that this is not the first or the second or the third exploit that we've seen at the highest level. Now, you know, in kind of the forefront of their minds. There's got to be now a conversation soon where for Riot, they've got to really knock it down. This is the perfect time as well. It's the off season. There's nothing happening until what, like late January, I think is the first time we see anything. I know the only thing that is happening before 2023 is the in-game circuit starts. Apparently that's starting in the next act. That's the rumor. But this is the perfect time to fix stuff now, because this thing keeps happening. Obviously, we had Killjoy Istanbul with the turret shooting the wrong way, which gave away wrong information. Obviously, had a whole replay of the round, and ended up finishing at like 3 a.m. local time or something stupid like that. And now we've got this, which is another bug as well that's been known within the game. Vibros has another one where there's a couple of walls. I think there's even actually one on this exact site where if you line it up specifically, you can have a massive one-way gap basically, which like no one can see. The little gap. Yeah. I think it's literally above the kind of the 410 thing. It's like right here. If you line up specifically, which that's also in the rulebook if you can't use because they haven't patched it yet. But essentially, there's many bugs that are starting to creep through now that are actually becoming problematic, because also there is that kind of that devil's advocate kind of thing where for a player, it's a case of if you use this, you get a warning and then you stop it. But imagine, you know, a grand final and it's like, you know, overtime, and you tactically choose to use that bug there and then. That's where things do become a bit of a problem, because someone could really make a massive decision off the back of what is a bug, and all they get off the back of it is a warning rather than it actually being fixed. Even with we mentioned this in the last episode, but the Killjoy bug, that's been in the game since Killjoy was introduced into the game. I mean, this is like a bug that's always been there. I'm assuming, if I'm ever going to be the nice guy here, I'm assuming that it's much harder to fix than we assume. Is my assumption, but
I mean, it's AI, I guess.
There's more than one bug, right? And that's the thing that I think is the most problematic part about this. That there's quite a few things creeping in now. Who knows? Yeah. Who honestly knows? We have to wait and see how things pan out. But
it's a problem, I mean, at least this is a relatively minor one in the end.
Exactly.
Like, the rounds were replayed, so there is some form of justice about it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It is what it is at this point, and this is a bug that players will now avoid, and I think now we need to lock down on this one. If anybody does it again, let's actually let's tell them, or maybe even disqualify them at this point.
Yeah, they'll slap. Like, no longer a slap on the wrist kind of thing. It's actually like one now. Like
but there's not much more you can do about it now. Guild 1, cool, good for them.
Exactly. I mean, I also kind of deservedly one as well, because I wasn't used in the final.
It wasn't. Exactly. They stopped after that. It's it's a grey area right now, because Riot does need to fix it.
And along with a lot of other slight bugs, and then with new agents coming in, means there's new possibilities of bugs. With this new agent coming in, kind of within the next sort of 5 days, basically. There is real potential for something to go wrong there, and I can already smell that the problem's going to be with that goddamn bubble. I can already sense it. Something's going to happen with it. It's either too overpowered or something. But hey, I'll have to wait and see. I know there's definitely. I've heard rumors that there's a lot of work being done towards agents. I think Chamber's definitely one that is getting work, and kind of deservedly. With this new act sort of looming. Changes need to be made, and those bugs need to be patched. And I'm assuming now with the very public. Well, I guess backlash I want to call it, but it's not really even backlash. It's very public that people are seeing these bugs happen. I think now Riot should probably make a move to make some changes. But hey ho, that is we're coming towards the end. We do have a few things we can talk about. Upcoming events of what's going on. I think the first one I mentioned that is we just finished the closed qual of it. Is Ripple Homeground. Take a look. Big ended up beating Koi 3-1. A pretty good game actually. Some pretty even ones as well. I did get a watch of a couple of the maps of the big game. Didn't actually get to see the end of it, but I saw who won it. And then I watched the XL game. But interesting stuff. I think we're seeing Red Bull Homeground set up to be pretty good. They're now the second team joined. They're joining Foot. Of course, we know Foot because they won a VRL finals. And they were pretty damn sick as well. They reverse sweep Vitality. I mean, what a game that was in the finals of VRL. I think a lot of people slept on them, and they stepped up. I've got to say as well, Kiwi is absolutely cracked as well. Like, he is seriously good. But yeah, we're having some pretty interesting things happening. We've got so that was the EMEA closed quals. We've got a few other quals to happen, and then it's just pure. I think it's primarily invites, isn't it?
6 invited teams, 2 qualifier teams.
Yes.
So I think qualifiers done now, big and for other 2, and then 6 invited teams, which I'm going to assume are franchise teams.
Yeah, your Fanatics and your big names like that.
Yeah. And that's happening in December, second weekend of December, 3rd? 2nd, 9th and 10th. 9th to 11th. So that's Sunday to Tuesday.
There we go.
Oh, wait, no, it isn't. I'm a dumbass. Never mind. I was.
It says main event here, December 9th to 12th.
9th, Friday to Sunday, 2nd weekend of November.
There we go.
Of December, sorry. But there's lots of stuff happening in December as well, because also the Campus Clutch finals are going to happen in December.
Yeah.
Not sure which weekend that's going to be, but probably around that as well. You wouldn't want to make it too late because obviously Christmas and the holidays coming up.
Yep.
And then there's the Superdome. There's a G-League Clash.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff happening. Actually, you know what? I can probably. No, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything because I don't know.
Good lad. But obviously, credit to Big. They get that last space. That's all we know so far. I mean, obviously, probably by the next time we do the podcast, we might have a little bit more information. Maybe even all the invited teams. We'll have to wait and see. What we do know is Spike Nations. Hello. Woo. This is obviously... So I'm working this one, which is I'm pretty excited for. So I know, for me, I I was pondering about what I was going to do in the off season. Actually, kind of the main reason I wanted to start this podcast was because I didn't really know what I was going to be doing in the off season. Because it is the off season. I mean, I've done bits of work here and there, but yeah, I thought it might be a little bit of a down period for me. However, I'm literally, the reason why we're recording this on the 10th, rather than maybe closer to the roster lock or whatever, is because I'm flying tomorrow. So tomorrow morning I've got a train 11 a.m. or over towards Heathrow, and then I will be. So at the time you're watching this, I will be in Copenhagen, where apparently it's freezing right now. So looking forward to that.
Great, have fun with that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, of course, if you're listening to this podcast right now, go over to Blast. It's literally being streamed. I think the stream is literally just Blast Valorant, if I'm right in saying. It's being streamed. It's pretty good. The lineup's also pretty cracked as well, I gotta say. I think the talent we've got.
Spain just got announced right now.
Yeah. Well, actually, do you know what we can do? I've got the list of all the teams, and I can list some of the bigger names, right, of what I've got. So first one, we've got over to the DAC region. Probably the big name that a lot of people will know of is Lucca, of course, from Big. Cuba as well is playing in that, and so the way it works, obviously, for those who don't know, it's kind of one player from VCT, one player from VRL, so kind of just below the kind of the quote unquote tier 2, one player from Gamechangers, and then content creators, the last two. So it's interesting, right? It's kind of the best. Go on.
So many of them are announced now.
Yeah,
Turkey, Poland,
they're
Benelux, France,
right
UK, Italy, Eastern Europe, DAC, Nordics, Portugal, Spain, and MENA have just been announced. So
should we have a little scroll through? I can fill the gaps, since I obviously know the teams. Yeah. I can fill the gaps. So obviously, so MENA's just been announced. We've got, there we go. You can see it right on your screens right now. MENA, yeah. Lovely stuff. We've also got Team Spain. Nice. I see Say's there as well. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, that Heretics getting a big showing, being kind of the representative in a sense.
Yep.
Swise, someone I actually know as well, or like
Meet the Myth as well. I know him.
Literally
cool.
casted Swise before, so cool to see him. I actually, honestly, as funny as that, I didn't actually know that Swise was Portuguese. I had no idea. But here we go. Alend, we know Alend. We've casted him.
Of course, yeah. But there's a lot of there's MP.
Oh man, MP. This is. Do you know what? That makes me really happy. We were kind of speaking about MP. Obviously, MP worked Blast last time out. So I'm glad that even if he's not working at this time, he gets kind of the representation as he gets to play. Yeah. I love MP,
Vova and Mimi. I mean, this is a stacked team, let's be honest.
The thing is also, people are going to see this team, but MP was a pro player as well. MP played for Alliance before he became a caster.
Right? He's still...
Yeah. He's a serious gamer. I've tuned into a stream every now and again where he's slinging the finish out there. Don't know what he's saying, but the kid can tap heads. So, I love MP. He's like one of my favourite people. So I'm glad to see him...
rooting for him.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him involved. I think I'll have quite a bit of bias to him. Yeah. I've got Team DAC, which of course Lucca, a big one as I mentioned.
Roxy,
Cuba, Roxy as well. Miss Rage, who a lot of people probably should know. She worked with Rix for a bit. She might even still work with Rix. Oh no, maybe not. Well, she was a streamer Rix, and also, if I'm right in saying, I think she was dating MBK, the CSGO player. I don't know if they still are, but hey ho. Of course, we've got Team Eastern Europe, Mugi, a name that a lot of people probably would have known, and then of course that's the rest of them. Pretty good. Italy. No profile pictures here. Nice and
yeah.
But Beepo is probably one I have to mention. I think Beepo is in VRL and he is seriously good. I think Beepo, he really impressed me as being kind of the difference maker. And I think actually, even though he's a VRL player, but I think I said on the desk at VRL that even though, well, actually we didn't know it was Beepo or Bipo, but where I think he's classed as a VRL player, but he can play at VCT level. So I'm really interested to see what he can do. Team UK, big up. So Marcus, of course, now ex-streamer for Guild. Andrew Meg, of course, who is the girlfriend of So Marcus, and also a very good player. I was tuning into her streams every now and again. Benji Fishy, the ex-Fortnite god. I don't really watch a lot of Fortnite, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, the amount of Fortnite players who've come to Valorant and actually kind of fuck shit up is
there's transferable skills, right?
This could be he could surprise you.
I think if I'm right in saying Benji he's not like classed as a content creator for this. I think he's actually even right. Let me get it up. I think he is classes like the VCT player, 'cause he's with NRG. Is my understanding is like he's classed as the big name for this side. But we know he's good, right? I mean, a lot of people tune into his streams. And he's seriously talented. Team France has a TBD as well, but Enzo, of course, from Fnatic, a lot of people know him. Mike, of course, played with Carmine Corp. 2 streamers here, I don't know, but of course, are in French. And a TBD. I'm interested to see what the TBD is. That'd be cool. Benelux, of course, 2 of the biggest names. Scream and Nevera. Do you know what? It really sticks as well. Interesting to me is like Stream's class as the Scream Marseilla's class as the VRL player. Nevera is the VCT. They're both gods. I think this is probably one of the most stacked sides. It's really interesting what they do. I mean, Kira was with Sector 1, if I want to say, is the player for Sector 1. Yes. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Good team. That seems to be cracked. I'm seriously looking forward to kind of what they can provide. Just because, of course, for me, like Nevera and Scream, I've known them since the CS days. Now I know them in the Valorant days. Should be sick. Poland, another name that we know, Patatek. Oh god.
Yep.
Love him.
Zeke, obviously, from Ascend as well. I mean. Yeah, that's also a pretty cracked team. Patatek,
of course, played for XL within Polaris Team Turkey.
Yeah,
another pretty crazy one. Of course, Ness.
Actually, Smurfette and Ness from Guild. Yeah. Bit
of synergy there as well. We'll see how that works. Should be pretty cool. Of course, they are the reigning Gamechangers champions, so you know, nice and good. And then what we kind of have a look at. This is kind of how it will run as well. So, you know, Group 1, Turkey, Poland, Benelux, and France. Group 2, UK, Italy, Eastern Europe, and DACH. And it's going to be a nice little rivalry there between UK and DACH, because there kind of naturally is a bit of a rivalry. And then Group 3, Nordics, Portugal, MENA, and Spain. I'm very interested as well to see kind of Portugal and Spain, because being from kind of the Iberian region that they have, those teams scrim against each other a lot, and the players will know each other quite well. Even the content creators probably should know each other quite well because they'll be on the same servers and stuff. So that should be very, very interesting. And last thing we can show is this mighty graphic.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. I think I look alright as a chamber. I think it suits me. I'm not going to say no to it. I think I've been done quite nicely. It's flattering. I think there was
good.
A couple of memes about they've made Ryan's head bigger than everyone
else.
else.
I think they did Ryan dirty here. I'm not going to lie. I'm not sure about that one.
I've been done quite nice, I gotta say. Thank you, Blast, for doing quite nice. But I mean, I gotta say, this is an absolutely stacked lineup, and then me. Yes. So I mean, it's pretty impressive.
And then me.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you got like these like VCT like heavy hitters: Kakuka, Mitch, Tom, Ryan, Gio as well, who's on a fair stint, and of course Ian, who does literally everything, an absolute multi-talented man. Someone that obviously we both know, and UK boy, lovely guy. He's probably one of the nicest guys I think I've met within esports. Love him. I worked with him at VRL, and he's just awesome. I think I'd probably comfortably say he's the best host I've ever worked with.
I think I
don't think for me there's like at the moment that doesn't mean a competition, because just that's how good Ian is. But for me, obviously it's a great opportunity to kind of be alongside some pretty heavy hitters. Get my name out there a little bit. Obviously, I'm known for a lot for my CS. But I obviously want to do more Valorant stuff. This is not a bad way. And I get to learn from some of the best. So it should be interesting. And the way it'll be working is obviously Ian hosting, Gio, Kakuka are the primary analysts, more or less. Mitch and Tom casting together, and then myself and Ryan casting together. And I will be doing more of the play-by-play, which...
love that.
Be fun. I enjoy play-by-play. I think I don't enjoy it as much as at home, because... I don't annoy neighbors or like my family, but I do enjoy it. Obviously, I started as a play-by-play back in CS:GO, and then within the last year, I've slowly transitioned to color. But it should be good to kind of go back to my roots a little bit, be able to play, and of course, because Ryan is like the giga brain, he's so smart, right? To kind of have him as my color would be awesome. I think what I'm gonna hopefully try and do is make it very conversational. Just because he's a smart dude, he's also a lovely dude as well. So, like Ryan, actually, I've got quite a nice story about Ryan. He's actually one of the first people who ever, like, one of the first big names, the first people who ever noticed me or like, you know, praised my commentating. And it was way back in a Rick's Open in like 2020, and it was me and X-Warrior casting together, and Ryan was in the chat, and he kind of just said like, he asked in chat who's casting. someone said it was me and X Warrior, and he was like, "These two are really good," and then he followed us on Twitter. And he DM'd me and I said, like, I was really impressed. And I was like, oh my God, thank you very much. And obviously, like, he was a big name back then, even bigger now. So it's kind of come full circle. Ryan was very, very nice to me right at the start. That was my only thing I was doing in Valorant. It was very grassroots. It was the Ricks Opens. Like, anyone on their nan could sign up. Yeah. And kind of Ryan, that kind of took time out of his day to, follow me and say some very nice words about me. So I'm glad I get the opportunity to work with Ryan, actually, just because... I hope I can kind of, do it justice, because he is a lovely dude, and I do kind of owe him in a sense of, because he was so nice, and he kind of kept me intrigued in Valorant when maybe when I was only doing Rick stuff, I might have lost interest because of maybe the lack of, events that are around at the time. So, no, it should be nice. I'm really looking forward to it. And of course, for those who are listening right now, it is probably live right now. It's probably on at the very least. So
yeah, there's probably a couple of events going on at the moment. Actually.
Exactly. So
the Superdome is coming up at that time as well.
I did. I actually got asked to do that. But obviously I couldn't do it because I'm in Copenhagen. And it's from home, if I'm right in saying. I got asked to do it. So nice to see that.
When would the announcement happen for Superdome? This is coming out on the 15th, right? The announcement.
Yeah, surely before, right?
Right, I'm doing the English stream for Superdome.
Yes, yeah, so I thought you would, because basically it's primarily Polaris talent,
Yes.
It's the same guys who run Polaris, same guys who are running this.
Yeah. Superdome obviously is being held in Cairo in Egypt.
Yes.
It's a MENA event, but they're going to be doing an English stream. I will be doing it.
Nice. Do you know anyone else? Is it you and Moxie?
I actually have not been told yet, but I assume it would be me and Moxie, because that would make sense. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know yet.
I got asked, but obviously I am in Copenhagen, so I can't do it. Yeah. But it is quite a cool event, actually. When I was having a little read through before, obviously, I knew I couldn't go because of the dates. I think it starts. Is it 15th? It starts?
Yeah, 16th.
16th. Yeah, obviously I'm still in Copenhagen there because Blast is 14th to 16th. But so it's kind of cool actually. So Blast is 14th to 16th, but they're flying us out on the 11th.
Cool.
And they're giving us like the first day just to explore and like enjoy Copenhagen, which is actually really nice. And then, so the 12th we can kind of just explore, do whatever we want. 13th we've got like a meeting just to kind of discuss like cool content things. I mean, one of the things that Blast is best is content. So that's what we're doing on the 13th, is just going through content. And like, I'm a stickler for content. I love me some content. So I'm basically gonna go to that meeting, but like, I will do anything, like genuinely, like I don't care. So that'd be fun. I know me and Ian did some great content at VRL.
Yes.
And then 14th we start, and 17th we fly back. So not too bad. And I fly back late on the 17th, so I've kind of got all day to just the vibe and Kajibe, basically. Enjoy stuff. But yeah, not too shabby. The team's looking good. There's some big names. Obviously, Scream, Nevera, I'm really excited to see. The UK side looks awesome as well. I'm actually very interested to see what Benji Fishy can provide, just because I've seen some of his streams, especially when he made the big change from, of course, going from Fortnite over towards Val. I'm excited to see what he can do. There's some other pretty big names that are yet to be announced, but of course will be today. Like as I'm recording, I'm not going to leak anything just in case there's any more changes, because I could say someone now, and in the 5-day or the 4-day period until it starts, there could be a big change and someone can't go, and here, there, and everywhere. But what I'm saying is, it looks like a cool event. I'm very, very, very thankful for Blast for bringing me on, because I wasn't really sure I was going to do much this off season, so it should be cool. I'm hoping I can have some fun with it.
I think we'll both have a good off season.
Yeah. You've got a little bit of Redacted involved.
Yeah, I've got quite a bit of Redacted that I can't talk about.
Yeah, exactly. So
things are going well for me though. Exactly. I think. Hey, the thing is, the way it works with broadcast talent, we're all just trying to set ourselves up for next year. We're all just trying to
we're trying to get that name into the hat when it comes towards 2023. We want to be sort of involved as best as we can, which is at times easier said than done, just because it's a little bit it's the way I put it is, you're in limbo at times, right? You don't hear too much, and then you hear everything. I think it's probably the best way to do it. Like, I don't hear anything in terms of gigs, and then I get 2 on the same day. And you're like, okay, well, I have to say no to the super dumb thing. But
I'm going to make a prediction that you're going to see a lot of 2 in the chamber in 2023, though, on your broadcast. I think.
I'm hoping.
I'm making a prediction.
Valorant gods, Riot. Help us out.
Maybe not the international leagues, but hey, I think we'll definitely get a lot of work.
If I had to make assumptions, I mean, you'll probably see us for Polaris again. I think that I think we both.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. We don't exactly know how.
Yeah, we don't know how it works.
How that works, but I'm assuming if they do challenges. Northern Europe, then we would be part of that team.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, because obviously the other thing is when they set up, you know, the individual regions like Polaris and whatever, they set up the contracts with the production companies that are doing them, and we've obviously worked with them. So I would both say as well, we both kind of killed it in the Polaris. We had a very good stint. Our death segments were quite funny as well. So I reckon we're gonna be. I reckon it'll be all right. I reckon we'll be fine. At the very least, you know, maybe now we'll have the odd gig here or there until everything starts up again in January. But that's why we're doing the podcast. They keep just sticking across, and it keeps just kind of keeps us our Valorant brain in check. I think it's probably the best way,
exactly. Yeah, it keeps us in the loop.
Exactly. But ladies and gentlemen, that is more or less everything done and dusted. Of course, if you want to be kept more in the loop, you can go and follow us on Twitter. Our Twitters are, you can see them below our heads, in fact. Also the link below, all the good stuff. Well, for now, Matt, anything you want to say on the way out?
Absolutely, we've covered absolutely everything. We've had a very productive day today. So not too shabby. Well, of course, for those watching now, I am doing Blast, and for those watching now, Matt is doing Superdome literally tomorrow. So go check us out, Blast Valorant. Right now, from the 14th to the 16th, you'll see me there alongside some absolute heavy hitters. So I'm just gonna try and keep my head above water, and then of course Matt will be killing it with the Superdome stuff. Which that sounds very interesting. I gotta say, when I was reading through the docket, it's the I mean, some pretty star-studded. If you're an EMEA viewer, they're Fnatic and Ascend there, so lots to watch. Even if you are from EMEA, and obviously that's LAN, so they're going to be actually there in Cairo. So
of course,
hey, I it's going to be awesome. So I can't wait for that.
Side note as well, for those we're talking about, the agent who hasn't been released as of the date of recording, but at the date of release of this podcast will be out. We should all know. I think it actually comes out 3 days time. Blast is the first tournament that's going to be using the agent. So if you're interested to see how it works in competitive play, and maybe seeing someone like Scream or Navera or Arle, any of the big guys that we know, the go that is Bipo, go and check out Blast Round. Someone might be using it. Who knows? Obviously, Blast all for charity as well. So it's for a good cause. So swing by. You can get it. There's many ways to get involved as well, through like donations and channel points and all these things. You can affect the stream and affect the players and the teams, etc. So, and I think maybe even the talent as well. I think we'll probably try and introduce some way of you guys messing with us, maybe changing our outfits, something like that. Who knows? Either way, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. For now, we will say farewell. We will be back roughly, I'd say, probably about 2 weeks. And the month, towards the end of the month, roughly.
Whenever we can find time,
exactly,
busy people.
Schedules.
Lots of people to see.
Things to do, people to see. Probably in about 2 to 3 weeks, roughly towards the end of the month, because by then there should be quite a lot more in terms of, we'll have roster locks confirmed. We'll have probably a little bit more information on some of the tournaments like Rebel Campus Clutch, Rebel Homegrounds, maybe kind of the official teams that are invited to Homegrounds, potentially some even more tournaments actually announced, because there still is a few that aren't announced. They're just rumored right now, but who knows? But for now, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Covered quite a lot. We will say goodbye. Follow us on Twitter, all of the good stuff. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already. And for now, we say goodbye. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. It's been a long one. We loved it. We'll see you soon. Peace out.